Hello, Dr. Cohen. This is Alexis Martinez presenting my research article for Psychology of Music 2. This is take God knows what. A little bit poor quality here, but at least you can kind of see me through this little, screen down there. I'm currently actually in my church, so you might hear some background noise. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So, my research article is The Effects of Music Therapy on Mood States in Neurological Patients, a pilot study. This was published in the Journal of Music Therapy, number 39, back in 2002, done by Dr. McGee and Dr. Davidson, presented by yours truly. So, I'm just letting you know. Oh, excuse me. Very slow. So, we can get through this together. So, slides are going to come out a little bit late. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and discuss the purpose. So, the purpose of the study is to examine whether clinical music therapy facilitates a change in mood states in participants with acquired neurodisability. And so, I also want to mention that the researchers described in the article that there was a lot of research and studies done on how music therapy affects, improves speech, improves physical movement. There we go. There's a slide. Improves, motor skills, but there was not enough suggesting music therapy to improve psychological conditions. Elevating, mood states, and for those who acquire neurodisability, and so. Like we stated earlier, this was a pilot study, short, and so there was not, they just kind of wanted to, kind of begin, a pathway for research as such. And so, moving on to methods, so like we stated, pilot study, there were 14 total participants. Now, participants were put in one of three categories: multiple sclerosis, traumatic brain injury, and others, so either patient with brain damage or anoxia. There we go. You kind of see the qualification of the participants there and what score they have in terms of their condition. The independent variable was the administered music, so it was either improvisation or recreative. Now, each participant did receive one or the other, but overall, each participant did receive both. And the dependent variable is the measured mood, and so what the researchers collected. Now, they did use if the slide loads, they did use the if I can find it here, actually, my apologies. Yeah, they did use the bipolar form of the profile of mood states, otherwise known as the POMS. By now, it was used to examine mood states and feelings, mostly for psychiatric patients, but nonetheless, it was a more standard way of measuring moods, changes in moods. Now, in this scale, there are 6 subscales, and so researchers only used 4 out of the 6. Now, they explained that they only used 4 because they wanted to collect the results as soon as the music therapy session was completed, and they don't want to make the filling out process to interfere in the changes of mood, especially since each participant did display physical, cognitive, communication, sensory, and behavior impairments. So they didn't want those factors to intervene with the results. So they only used 4 subscales out of the 6. The 4 subscales that they used was measuring composed to anxious, energetic to tired, agreeable to hostile, and elated to depressed. And this thing is just not loading, so we'll go ahead and move on to method. Now, like explained, there was either recreative or improv intervention used for the participants. Now, each music therapy session, well, before I explain that, there was one music therapy session per week for 2 weeks, so a total of 2 sessions or 2 experiments where data was collected. And so participants on the first week either received, there we go, they either received an improv intervention, and the following week receiving the recreative, or vice versa, receiving recreative intervention and then the improv. And so, as you can see here on the screen, the music therapist will begin with a hello song, welcoming the client, the main activity, one of the two, and a goodbye song. So, looking at the design, I would suggest that the actual experiment was short itself, and so, not too much going on. Let's see, am I forgetting anything? Believe not. Hope all this is making sense. I'm tired. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to results now. If this thing loads, you'll see here the results, but I'm not gonna say numbers out loud because I'm sure to mess them up, which is why I wrote them down. The researchers found, significant differences in the subscale of composed to anxious, energetic to tired, agreeable to hostile, and the thing loads, you can see yourself. Now, they did not find significant differences in elated to depressed. Now, the researchers did not actually provide the stats here in the article, but they did suggest an interpretation that maybe the reason why there wasn't a huge significance difference in the subscale was because the subscale of elated to depressed probably isn't affected by short-term music therapy interventions. And it's also kind of important to mention that the researchers here also mentioned that one participant in particular started crying in one of the recreative intervention because the song reminded her of a time before she had a neural disability, and which actually was very meaningful at the moment, but not it can't be measured because that same participant didn't show a significant difference in one of the subscales or any of the subscales. So it's possible that there's way more going on than what we think. As you can see here, screen's very terrible. I hope you're okay with this. I'm trying to load things here. Or guess not. Moving on. So, I'd like to go ahead and discuss applications. So, actually, that's been on the slide this whole time. I've been trying to click on these other, see if I can try. Anyway, so. Application. So more participants, can't go wrong with more participants. Oh, there we go. Here's some of the results. So for the subscale composed to anxious, agreeable to hostile, etc. You kind of see what they scored on the pre-test, what they scored on the post-test, and for either for an improvisation intervention or recreative. And going back to applications, so again, just a sample of 14 participants will define the whole population of people with acquired neurodisabilities. So I believe more participants in that sense wouldn't hurt. Also, I think more music therapy sessions, more sessions to gather data. There was only 2 experiments, and so I think also just once a week. So many things can interfere, and so I think. Extending the time of the research, and also possibly having the music therapy session, more than just once a week, so we can kind of see multiple data. And also, I'm interested to know if how would it turn out with just receptive methods. Now, according to Bruscia in his Defining Music Therapy textbook, receptive interventions allow clients to go into a deeper state of awareness and consciousness. Like I explained with the one participant that the recreated song reminded her of her past. I personally believe receptive intervention is, very powerful in its sense, and so I think, considering we're creative, the client is so focused on, the physical aspect of making music. If we can kind of take that away and allow the client to just immerse themselves in the music listening, I'm sure we can, actually get possibly, greater differences in these in mood and changes of mood states actually. So I'm curious to know how receptive intervention would have turned out. Another application that I believe would have been is a little bit significant is the scoring. Personally, I tried looking up how the scoring works, and not much luck. But I did find that this scoring is used for patients with mental illness or in psychiatric settings, and understanding that this that measuring mood states is subjective. This specific scale is used for those with mental illness, and so and again, not all 6 subscales were used. I believe some subscales possibly may have been related to one another, or possibly seeing maybe what other subscales would have been found significant or even not significant. We don't have the whole picture here, and so and also even just creating a simpler one that can be done quick and easy to measure, and then and so I believe that is it, and this thing just does not want to load. I want to go back to the slide with the results so I can show you the stats. I think it's kind of cool, a little background, a little brain. Okay, there we go. So these were the stats that they found in the in the 4 subscales. Again, they didn't provide the stats for the last one since they found no significant differences. It's kind of important to mention that the researchers suggested that if you go to the page, that the results suggest that the other 3 subscales that did work, represent emotional changes in short-term therapy, and the last subscale, might imply that short-term intervention to lift mood might not actually kind of work. And so since feeling of depression it's kind of more long-term, and just kind of there's multiple things that go into that specific mood. So it's it wouldn't be surprising to see that there wasn't such a huge change of mood in that last subscale, because it's a mood that does not change as easily or isn't affected by short-term therapy. And so that's what some of the researchers suggest. And so I believe that I have a max of 15 minutes here. I have 2 minutes left, and so personally I enjoyed reading this. I'm actually going to use this for my literature for my research proposal, and so we'll be mentioning this back in the near future. And this article is just very detailed, well written, and impossible to describe in just 10 to 15 minutes. So I'll try emailing you this PowerPoint. It's a Google slide, so I'll make a PDF and upload it to Dropbox so you can see the slides for yourself. I apologize for any glitches here, or if the sound's not good or anything, but I hope you kind of received a good impression of my presentation here, and I hope you have a great week, and enjoy the holidays. So thank you very much for listening, and